Hello everyone, Binati Sheth here, and today let's talk translations. So, what do you think I need to talk about in terms of translations? So, one thing I've observed in translating documents is that when we talk about translations out of English, as in uh, say Hindi to English or English to Hindi, we have not a lot of problems there. But if I were to go from say Hindi to Japanese, generally the process that I see is they'll translate it in English and then it will go from like they'll translate like say Hindi to English, then English to Japanese. So there will be like a point break sort of a system that happens with translating native 1 to native 2 using English as the common go between medium between these two languages, and that kind of creates subconsciously creates let's say an issue in terms of how accurate the translations are. uh, let me give you an example of this. Again, this is not about translations per se, but like say the article that I've done on the history of Kashmir, where I've gone back way into the past and come to the present, as in looking at why this issue is so difficult to resolve, or why this issue is sort of a political landmine in every shape, sense and form of the word, because there's so much history there. And if you look at that article, you'll see that there's no opinions anywhere. Like you'll only see this document shows this, it was in this language done, this done, facts, 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 facts everywhere, right? And the problematic point here is at the very end. Like I couldn't, sometimes you can't stop yourself, specifically when you're doing personal work for yourself or work for your own blog or platform or whatever it is. So at the very end I used the word Machiavellian, which is not really a problem, but Machiavellian is a word that is used to describe what Indians would know to be Chanakya's Samdam Dandbhed logic, right? Which is do anything you have to keep in power, to get power. So that is where we use the word. So in a Machiavellian move, the ruling party dot dot dot. This is what I've done at the very end. So while I stayed away from opinions for like the entire 600, 16,000 plus words that article runs, just one word in the conclusion of the thing kind of gives my opinions away, doesn't it? It kind of tells you what I feel without really telling you what I really feel about the thing. And this is the problem that I'm talking about. So when mostly English translations are facilitated by EFL speakers readers, which is English as first language, right? So this is unfortunately a sad phenomena that I don't really have any answer to why this is such a thing. But yeah, companies insist on having EFL, native English speakers. So they will go to Western countries and get Westerners who speak in English and one of the native languages, and they will kind of translate documents for you. So uh, a lot of our scriptures, like Indian scriptures, are currently being translated into multiple languages, Western and Indian, right? And what they will do is Indian to the scripture to English translation, that will be handed off to some Westerner, and then English to Indian language or English to foreign language, that will be handed off to some expert. And what that does is again, you have to have a lot of spare time to kind of check up on this. But if you go to National Digital Library of India and type in Mahabharat or Ramayana or any of the Veds, you will see multiple versions of it show up. And when I say versions, I don't mean volume 1, volume 2, or edition 1, edition 2. I mean this translator, this translation collaboration in English, Tamil, Telugu, etc., etc. Like it, a lot of it will show up. And just the English translations itself, if you if you are familiar with you know the the readers that the translators that do this, there is an inherent bias that creeps in sometimes. So there was a gigantic controversy over one translator who did translate the history well, but she used some very defamatory words uh, regarding the characters from Ramayana. And see, to her Western morality, that would make sense. But to, like, say, an Indian morality, to a morality where the protagonist is seen as a source of reverence, a kind of a deity, like not a kind, he's an actual deity, right? He's an avatar of one of our gods. So when someone like that translates a document, what that does is inherently the bias creeps in, right? So the way that the character is originally defined in the original document kind of gets lost in the document that's translated, in the sense that while Ram would be Maryada Purushottam in the original text, if you check some of the translations out, he will be nice man, which is not what Maryada Purushottam is, right? So this is what I mean when I say language A to language B, with English as a go between medium for translation. Like unconsciously, it dictates the perception of the subject matter of the original text in a, let's call it incorrect fashion, because I mean these are my opinions, okay? So uh, yeah, like many times I've noticed, like I've read some of the different translations of the Mahabharat and the Ramayana, which is why I'm only quoting those two. I haven't really had the chance to go through all the Veda translations yet because they are long. But there is a very distinct difference between what the original documents say and what their English translations say. So when people read the English translations, they are like, oh, look at these Indians trying to, kind of dictate narrative around things that they don't know about or whatever. Like, I've seen this a lot in comment sections and stuff like that. And this is where translators can step up their game. And I think organizations like Ideas Beyond Borders are doing a great job in that regard. As in, when it comes to language A to language B translation, they are not using English as the go between. They are just, getting people who speak both languages and having them translate the document, so that these biases, these unconscious biases, don't really show up. And why are translations so relevant is, like, you can see the impact of that in the Middle East. So sad, this is really sad, but like writing originated in the Middle East. Like, to the best of our archaeological knowledge, the first written records of mankind were traced, like of sapiens, were traced back to the Middle East. So the fact that, unfortunately, due to theocratic societies that operate in a lot of regions in that area, a lot of books are banned. But once projects like Ideas Beyond Borders came in and brought books like Steven Pinker, brought translations, Arabic and Urdu and Persian, and all these translations of very progressive books, a lot of revolutions kind of started happening in the place. And of course, it's not just the books that are responsible for the revolution, it's also the anger of the people. But what do you think starts that thought process? Like, you hear about an idea from some place and you're like, oh, it could be like that as well. And I think this is why proper translations are important. You need people to understand your idea 100% and not have like opinions ruin things. So my 10 minutes are up. Bye.